Bombergirl is a game where Konami decides to inject estrogen into Bomberman and pit you against other players in a 4v4 MOBA format. Instead of having your average match length being about 35 to 40 minutes, like some other games, your match lasts for 5 minutes, if not less. Bombergirl is originally a Japanese arcade spin-off game of Bomberman that came out in 2018 exclusive to cabinets. But there's also a Konaste version of Bombergirl that is essentially a PC port that was released late 2021. The game does not have an English localization version, but you're still able to download the game and play it, as long as you have a Konami ID and an e-amusement pass. You know, these things. You could go to a Dave & Buster's or some other equivalent and get these if you have a DDR machine in there somewhere, or get it digital when you're setting it up on the website. There are different classes. The bomber has access to a large amount of bombs, laying traps on the field, and playing 4D chess with interdimensional time travel. Their skills are basically super bombs, and their main job is to use that destructive force in clearing blocks and demoing objectives. The attacker is a class with offensive skills and insane movement speed. Some of these skills can come in handy because a number of them have invincibility on them, which makes it considerably more useful because they have the vitality of a person on life support. The shooter is the first barrier that is going to keep your home base safe, and they make like an American when an intruder enters their home and blasts them into a fine paste. Every class has access to bombs, but the shooter can shoot over blocks and walls, making them a fine choice to pressure bottlenecks and protect the base. The blocker is the second barrier between your enemies and the objective. By playing Minecraft, you place blocks in order to stall the enemy's progress, or create this U-shape in the base to control the flow of movement and corner any intruders. Another part of the game is the gacha. From here you can use the tickets from playing daily to roll and get voice lines, skills, cosmetics, and characters. There's a character for everyone. I mean it. It ranges from a literal Belmont, yes, that one, and a sassy lost child. I do enjoy that the cosmetics of the game add flavor to each player, adding a bit of character while laying waste to your opponent's towers. Alright, now, before you put down your first bomb, you're going to need some Bombergirl etiquette. Main objective number 1 is that you should remember that this is a team game and you shouldn't piss off your teammates. When you clear blocks, you'll get these items. They'll increase your bomb count, explosive range, character speed, and increase team level. The amount of each that you can pick up before being maxed is dependent on your class. Oh, did you also know that you can blow up the items? Don't do that. The easiest way to turn the game into a 1v7 is to blow up items and stun your teammates on purpose. These are your starting characters from the 4 classes: Bomber, Attacker, Shooter, and Blocker. There are 4 people in a team, and ideally each person should be playing one of the 4 roles each. These 2 are your offensive players, and these are your defensive players. Your offensive squad channels their inner Usain Bolt and makes a beeline towards the enemy towers, and eventually their base. And your defensive squad sets up a mob farm to grind XP and also busts out the furnishings in the base for your guests. On some maps, they'll also be seen holding the line somewhere in the middle of the map, but nowhere past enemy spawn, so they can spawn crush. I would like to note that I am not the person you should be listening to when it comes to tactics and how to play the game properly. Trust me, I'm new with this shit. But there's a guide that I'll link in the description that will give you tips and tricks if you care enough. It's in Japanese though, but with the help of Google Translate you'll get by. Since the game has no official support in the West, I'm assuming that the servers are hosted in Japan, but the gameplay is very nice and feels similar to rollback netcode in modern fighting games. Just make sure you're on Ethernet because that Japan connection won't settle for anything less. Overall, the game is really fun, and you don't even need to hear it from me to know that. The game has been around since 2018 and people are still blowing each other up, so that probably says something. Or there could be another reason. Nah, couldn't be.